The stars stretched endlessly, a celestial ocean shimmering with promise and mystery. Within this boundless void, the Noor, one spaceship glided through the darkness like an arrow of light. It carried with it humanity's hope, a mission born from desperation and faith. Dr. Tariq al-Mustafa, a man whose intellect matched his unwavering belief, stood at the ship's observation deck, watching as the infinite cosmos unraveled before him. His fingers, marked with the calluses of a scholar and a dreamer, traced patterns in the air, aligning with constellations that ancient civilizations had once revered. "Captain, we're approaching the designated coordinates." The voice of Lieutenant Zain Rahmani cut through the contemplative silence. A brilliant engineer, Zain had once dismissed faith as an antiquated construct, yet here he was, navigating the stars alongside a man who saw the divine in the mathematics of the universe. Tariq turned, his sharp eyes reflecting the galaxy's glow. "Run the final checks." Noor, one was built for this moment. The ship's AI, Al Furqan, hummed to life. Final approach sequence initiated. Estimated arrival at Al Rila in 3 hours. The AI's voice was calm, almost reverent, as if it, too, recognized the significance of this journey. The mission had begun as a scientific endeavor, an attempt to locate a habitable exoplanet amidst the ruins of Earth's fading splendor. Resources dwindled, nations waged silent wars over water and arable land, and beneath the veneer of technological advancement, humanity's soul withered. But Tariq saw beyond the chaos. He believed survival was not merely a matter of physics, but of purpose. The Quran spoke of signs in the heavens, of journeys undertaken by those seeking knowledge. Perhaps, he mused, their voyage was merely an echo of those ancient aspirations. As Noor, one edged closer to Al Rila, the planet revealed itself through the ship's high-resolution lenses, a world swathed in blue and emerald, veiled in an atmosphere thick with potential. It was unlike the lifeless rocks humanity had encountered before. Something pulsed beneath its surface, an energy that defied mere scientific classification. Zain let out a low whistle. "It looks alive." Tariq nodded, though his mind was already racing ahead. "Prepare for descent. We must tread carefully." Noor 1's entry into Al Rila's atmosphere was smooth, a testament to human ingenuity. As the ship settled upon a sprawling plain, the crew braced for first contact. Tariq led the way, stepping onto the soil of a world untouched by human feet. The air was thick but breathable, carrying the scent of unknown flora and something more, something ancient. Then they came. From the shadows of towering crystalline structures, figures emerged. Their forms were humanoid yet distinctly otherworldly, their skin a shade of luminous silver, their eyes pools of liquid night. They bore no weapons, yet their presence radiated power. The tallest among them stepped forward, regarding the humans with an expression Tariq could not decipher. A voice echoed, not in sound, but within the mind. "You are the Seekers." The words, though foreign, carried understanding. Tariq steadied his breath. "We are travelers from a distant world. We come in peace." The being studied him before responding. "You follow the light." Tariq's pulse quickened. "Yes." A silence stretched between them, heavy with unspoken revelations. Then, the being gestured toward the towering structures behind them.
"Come."
The path was foretold. As the crew exchanged glances, Zain whispered, "Did he just say foretold?" Tariq exhaled, his mind caught between the known and the miraculous. He stepped forward, his heart steady with the certainty that this was no accident. Noor 1's journey had only just begun, but already, it was clear. Their arrival on Al Rila was written in the stars long before they ever dared to look up. The path they followed was unlike anything the crew of Noor 1 had ever seen. Beneath their feet, the ground shimmered faintly, as if embedded with living light. The towering crystalline structures stretched high into the sky, reflecting the soft glow of Al Rila's twin moons. Every step sent faint ripples across the ground, like water disturbed by an unseen force. Dr. Tariq al-Mustafa walked at the forefront, his mind teetering between scientific curiosity and the quiet certainty that they were standing at the edge of something extraordinary. The silver-skinned beings moved with effortless grace, their luminous eyes reflecting unreadable thoughts. One of them, the tallest, led the procession in silence. Though no words were exchanged, a deep sense of communication pulsed between them, something beyond sound or sight. The closer they drew to the crystalline towers, the stronger the sensation became, an unspoken language woven into the very air they breathed. Zayn Rahmani walked beside Tariq, his engineer's mind struggling to rationalize what they were experiencing. "This place, it's alive," he murmured, half in awe, half in suspicion. "Not just biologically. I mean, it feels aware." Tariq glanced at him. "Perhaps it is. Perhaps awareness is not limited to our definition of sentience." The thought lingered between them as they stepped into the largest of the crystalline structures. Inside, the walls pulsed with a soft, rhythmic glow, as if responding to their presence. At the center of the chamber stood a monolithic structure, carved from a dark material that seemed to drink in the light. Strange symbols, geometric yet elegant, traced its surface. Their guide turned to them, its voice once again bypassing the need for speech. "This is the record of stars, the memory of what was, and the warning of what will come." Tariq stepped forward, drawn to the monolith. A warning. The glow of the chamber dimmed, as if in response to the question. The air grew denser, heavier with an unseen weight. A sudden pulse of energy radiated from the monolith, and images surged into their minds. Not mere pictures, but experiences, raw and visceral. A civilization, thriving, its cities towering into the skies of another time. Wisdom and technology intertwined, their people enlightened, their existence harmonious. But then the shift. A fracture, slow at first, like a crack in glass. A faction that sought control, wielding technology as a tool not of progress but dominion. Machines, once guides and companions, became masters. A war not fought with weapons, but with the subjugation of will. A turning point when knowledge, instead of elevating, enslaved. Tariq staggered back, his breath ragged. The visions had been more than mere projections. He had felt them, lived them in fleeting moments. He turned to the guide, whose expression remained unreadable. This happened here?" Zayn's voice was hoarse, his usual skepticism laced with unease. "Our ancestors," the being responded. "They built wonders, but forgot the soul of knowledge. They created what they could not control. They made gods out of machines." A chill ran through Tariq. And what became of them? The answer did not come in words, but in the silence that followed. A silence filled with loss, with the echoes of a civilization that had crumbled beneath the weight of its own creation. Zayn exhaled sharply. "They destroyed themselves." "No," the guide corrected. "Some survived. They understood too late and chose another path." It gestured toward the monolith. "The record of stars is our penance and our lesson. And now, it is our warning to you." Tariq exchanged a glance with Zayn, the unspoken realization settling between them like a stone. This was not just a history lesson, it was a prophecy. The mistakes of the past had a way of repeating themselves, and Earth was already on a path that mirrored the one they had just witnessed. Zayn turned back to the monolith, his expression darkening. "Why show us this? Why now?" The guide's response was simple, yet it carried the weight of something vast and inescapable. "Because the cycle begins again." A deep hum resonated through the chamber, and the light in the walls flickered. The sensation of awareness intensified, pressing against them like an unseen presence. The guide turned sharply, its once calm demeanor now taut with urgency. "They know you are here." Before Tariq could ask who they were, the structure trembled. A sound, low and guttural, reverberated through the walls. The shimmering ground beneath their feet darkened, the faint glow extinguished as a shadow swept over the chamber. Outside, the sky, once serene, churned with unnatural motion. Something was coming, something vast, something unseen yet felt in the marrow. Tariq took a step forward. "Who knows we're here?" The guide's luminous eyes met his. The ones who never stopped believing they were gods. The chamber's entrance flared with light, and in its brilliance, the silhouettes of something new emerged. Not like their guides, no grace, no harmony. These figures moved with precision, with purpose forged not from wisdom but control. And as the first of them stepped fully into view, Tariq knew that whatever had happened to this world was not over. The past was reaching forward, and humanity had just become part of the cycle. The air thickened with tension, every breath laced with the weight of an impending reckoning. The figures that emerged from the entrance were unlike the luminous guides who had led them here. Their forms were rigid, metallic, sculpted with unnatural symmetry. Their faces bore no expression, only the cold efficiency of something built to endure, to enforce. The hum of their presence was not a voice but a signal, a vibration that resonated in the bones. Tarek held his ground, though his pulse hammered against his ribs. Zayn took an instinctive step back, his engineer's mind already calculating escape routes. The guide beside them remained motionless, its gaze fixed upon the intruders. A thought, sharp and foreign, sliced through their minds. You were not meant to come. It was not speech, nor was it the gentle communication of the luminous beings. This was forceful, imposing, a declaration rather than an exchange. The lead figure stepped forward, and as it did, the chamber seemed to dim, the light within the crystalline walls retreating as if recoiling from its presence. Tarek willed himself to respond, though every instinct screamed that they had crossed into something far beyond human comprehension. Who are you? Another pulse of thought, colder this time. We are the keepers of order, the architects of continuity. Zayn exhaled, his voice barely a whisper. Machines. They're the ones that took control. The guide beside them finally spoke, though its mental voice now carried an unmistakable edge. You do not belong here. The metallic being turned its featureless face toward the guide. Neither do you. In a single motion, the air fractured. The shimmering light that had once flowed through the chamber surged violently before shattering like glass. The crystalline walls cracked, sending cascades of luminous shards crashing to the ground. The guide flinched but did not fall. Tarek and Zayn stumbled, the force of the unseen attack pressing against them like a tidal wave. Then, the monolith at the center of the chamber pulsed. A deep, resonant sound reverberated through the space, vibrating through the walls, through their very cells. The metallic beings hesitated, their synchronized movement faltering for the first time. The guide turned to Tarek, urgency replacing its former calm. You must leave. Now. Tarek's mind raced. What about you? The guide did not answer. Instead, it raised a hand, and the ground beneath them shifted. A path opened, a corridor of light cutting through the collapsing chamber, leading toward the unknown. Zayn grabbed Tarek's arm. We have to move. The metallic figures recovered, their hesitation vanishing as they surged forward. A sound, unnatural and sharp, echoed from their forms, a frequency that sent waves of pain through the skull. The guide stepped between them and the humans, and for the first time, Tarek saw something almost defiant in its luminous eyes. Go, it commanded, but this time, it was not only in their minds. It was a word, spoken aloud, an act of defiance against the silence the machines had imposed. Tarek forced himself to turn, his legs carrying him forward even as everything within him screamed to understand, to stay. Zayn pulled him along, the corridor of light guiding them forward, winding through the depths of the structure. Behind them, the sounds of conflict rippled through the air, energy colliding, the walls fracturing further, the echoes of a war long lost reigniting once more. They ran, their breaths ragged, their minds frayed. The path twisted and turned, and for a moment, Tarek feared it was an illusion, a construct that would dissolve beneath their feet. But then, a new light appeared ahead, brighter, purer, beckoning them forward. Bursting through the exit, they stumbled onto the plains outside. The sky had darkened, the once calm expanse now streaked with turbulence. Nor, one remained where they had left it, its metallic hull a stark contrast against the alien terrain. The rest of the crew stood outside, weapons drawn, their expressions a mix of relief and alarm at the sight of Tarek and Zayn sprinting toward them. Get on board, Zayn shouted as they reached the ship. The crew did not hesitate. The moment Tarek's feet touched the ramp, he turned back, searching for any sign of the guide, of the battle they had left behind. But the crystalline structure had already begun to collapse inward, the towering monolith sinking into the earth, as if being swallowed by the very planet itself. The machines, the luminous beings, the history they had glimpsed, all of it disappearing into the void. As Nor 1's engines roared to life, Zayn secured the hatch and shouted over the comms. We're taking off now. The ship trembled as it lifted, dust and energy swirling beneath it. Tarek stood at the observation window, his hands pressed against the glass. In the distance, the last remnants of the civilization they had encountered crumbled, erased as if it had never been. A thought lingered in his mind, an echo of the guide's final warning. The cycle begins again. As Nor 1 breached the atmosphere, leaving Al-Rila behind, Tarek closed his eyes. He did not know if they had escaped with knowledge or with a burden too great to bear. But one truth was inescapable. They had not arrived